describe how he got on the ballot and his interests, and then maybe we can
answer some questions.
Yeah, do another topic.
My name's Bryan Jack Holder. I'm from Council Bluffs, Iowa. I lived there my whole life, grew up there. I went to Iowa Western Community College on a basketball scholarship, so I'm the product of Iowa's wonderful community college system, and I'm glad all of you have been able to take this opportunity to come to this school. So I have a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Bellevue University in Bellevue, Nebraska, and I have a law degree from Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm not an attorney. I grew up in a family photography business with my dad, and I've been a videographer and a photographer since about the time I was old enough to hold a video camera. So I'm currently 43 years old, but I got involved in politics about 3 years ago. I joined the local Republican Party and started going to what they call central committee meetings, and each district is broken up into voting precincts. So if you're a member of the party in your voting precinct, you can join the central committee, and it elevates your status from just being a mere voter. It gives you more political power. So you go to a meeting every month, you get to vote on motions, you get to talk about the issues with your fellow party members. But I did that for about 8 months, and then my girlfriend at the time told me to run for Congress. This congressional district, our former Congressman Latham, he announced his retirement. So what that means is now the seat is open, and a lot of people saw an opportunity to run for this office. There were 6 gentlemen in the primary 2.5 years ago. I didn't get enough signatures to get on the primary ballot, so I decided to run for Congress 2 years ago in the summer as an independent. I've always been a liberty-minded person, a small L libertarian, and I just didn't feel that the viewpoint that I have and the things that I care about were being adequately represented by the 2 major party candidates. So I went out and got 440 signatures 2 summers ago to get on the ballot. I got to speak at the state fair. I got to do TV and radio interviews, and I was expecting maybe to get a couple hundred votes, but somehow I got 4,300 votes. So 4,300 of my fellow citizens voted to send me to Washington, D.C., wearing this Liberty hat and wearing a t-shirt. So I spent about $200 to run for Congress that year, and decided to do it again this year. I joined the Libertarian Party. Now, the Libertarian Party in Iowa is not recognized by state law. To get recognized by state law as an official party, you have to get at least 2% in the election for governor or president. So Gary Johnson is the Libertarian Party candidate for president this time, and he's polling about 6 or 8% in Iowa. So hopefully he'll get at least 2% in a month from now, and we'll have a new political party in Iowa. And what that means is that's a more of an opportunity for all of you, especially you young folk, to get involved in politics, to come to party meetings, help organize. You can run for office yourself, but I hope to get at least 5% here a month from now. This time around, I've spent about $500 or $600 to run for Congress, so I haven't asked anybody for campaign contributions. Since I'm a photographer and a videographer, I film all my speeches when I speak in public and when I do radio and TV interviews, because this is what somebody that runs for this office, in my opinion, should be doing, to hold themselves accountable to you, because you know, one of us 5 is going to Washington, D.C. to vote on bills in the U.S. House of Representatives. So one of the 5 of us is going to make decisions that are going to affect your life and the life of your friends and family. Now, my crazy idea is, if I was elected someday, I would set it up so all of you could vote every day. You know, I want you to vote if you want to in a month from now, but I think you should all get to vote every day on every bill in front of Congress, and that would return power to the people, and you would have as much political power as our current Congressman David Young. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, just to be an advocate for liberty and justice for all. I made my own t-shirt, do my own signs, film my speeches, write them, edit them. I've got my own YouTube channel, and I'm also on Facebook. So if any of you want to send me a friend request, I always appreciate more friends to help me spread the message of liberty. So does anybody have any questions?
More bio?
I think you did a great job.
All right.
Who here remembers the American Revolution? Raise your hand. If you've read about it, studied it. Please, everybody raise your hand, I hope. All right. The main basis of the revolution, that taxation without representation is tyranny. Now, our House of Representatives, it's called the Temple of Liberty, because each representative, the office we're running for, is supposed to go there and protect the people's rights. But over the last several generations, they've done nothing but take our rights away, deprive us of our liberty. Our congressional district has 750,000 people in it. The founders never wanted these districts to be this large. They wanted districts small enough that our elected representatives could come to meetings like this and be accountable to you. There's one amendment, it's called the Article the First, and it was the very first amendment to the Bill of Rights. And it was never ratified by enough states, but it will limit our congressional districts to 50,000 people. And that's the kind of representative government that the founders and the men in the Revolutionary War fought for. They didn't fight for a government that's 2,000 miles away, that imposes burdens upon people and takes everything away from them. So if 27 state legislatures, the people in Des Moines and other states, ratify this amendment, it'll take this seat and break it into 15 little districts. And that would give every common person, like me and like you, a chance to run for office. Now, there's no guarantees that you'll win, but at least if you can get your name on the ballot and be a candidate, you can present some other opinions, some other viewpoints, and really make people think about what kind of country they want to live in, what kind of government they want to have. You know, some of you probably are familiar with the terms the debt and the deficit. Well, the national debt is the money that we as taxpayers supposedly owe for the decisions that were made before we were even born, and the decisions that are being made now. And the trouble is that this debt is never going to be paid off. So if you have a personal debt that you can't pay off, you declare bankruptcy. Well, it's very dangerous when a country does that, because when that happens, everyone loses faith in the currency, and the entire currency could collapse. So if you've ever heard of the zombie apocalypse, that's something that could actually happen. You know, people, if they don't have money, they don't have food, they don't have water, people act in very, very irrational and sometimes violent ways. So I believe there's still hope to turn this ship of state around. But like I said, I'd like to see more of us involved in the political process. And, you know, when you're young, you may think that your vote doesn't count. But believe me, it does. It does count. But we have to come to meetings like this with our elected officials and hold them accountable. I became a citizen journalist a few years ago, so I show up at town hall meetings and film the candidates and film the elected officials. Sometimes they don't like me showing up with my camera and wearing this hat, but that's what the First Amendment is all about. So we have the right to freedom of speech, we have the right to freedom of press, and we have the right to petition our government for a redress of grievances. So
Be able to have an education. Do you have anything else?
yeah, I'll just say a little bit about the philosophy of libertarianism.
Yeah, that would be good.
So some of you may have heard of libertarianism, some may not, but there's two basic principles to this political philosophy. The first one is that we own ourselves, self-ownership. You know, we have dominion over our bodies and our property, and it's not for government to tell us what to do, how to behave. The second point is the non-aggression principle. So we believe that it is morally wrong to initiate force against others, to use fraud or coercion when we're interacting with other people as individuals, and we think that this should be the principle of our government. Initially, this country was founded upon slavery and indentured servitude, but a civil war was fought to end that for all of us. So we believe that taxation is theft at the end of a gun. So we would like to see the income tax repealed. We believe that each one of us owns the fruit of our labor, and we should be able to keep our whole paycheck. So other things that we are against, we're against foreign intervention in foreign wars that are not declared by our Congress. The Constitution requires that Congress declare war against other nations, and we haven't done that since World War II. 1941 was the last time that a war was declared. Yet we're involved in hundreds of countries around the world. We have bases. There's dozens of conflict in which we have personnel that are directly involved or helping to supervise people in rebel groups. The Central Intelligence Agency, which was created after World War II to try and keep conflicts confined and keep them small. It's sort of a rogue government agency. They engage in all sorts of illegal activities to destabilize popular elected governments around the globe, and Congress has done a poor job, a horrible job reining in these government agencies. So there's dozens of government agencies you're probably all familiar with. The National Security Agency, which was also created after World War II to protect this country and to spy on this country's enemies, has been spying on all of us for decades now. Any of you, you all have your phones out, all your social media posts, every selfie you've ever sent to somebody, the government has that on a hard drive somewhere and they have access to it. And that's way too much power. The great bargain of our country and the Constitution was that there was a fight when the Constitution was being written, that some people believed that they didn't need a Bill of Rights. They were called the Federalists, and there was another group of founders that were called the Anti-Federalists, and they said that this government we're creating is going to be too strong and too powerful, and we need to have a Bill of Rights clearly delineating rights that we have that the government is bound to respect. So thankfully the Bill of Rights was ratified and became part of the Constitution. But there are government agencies at all levels, federal, state, and local, that violate parts of the Bill of Rights. And that's what much of constitutional law is about, all the Supreme Court cases. So if any of you have the opportunity to apply to and attend law school, you'll learn all about these constitutional cases. But that's just a little bit more about the founding of our country, the Constitution, and libertarianism in general. So,
MTV, yeah, we'll go on MTV.
if anyone wants to learn more about me, my website is holder4iowa.com. I have my Facebook page, and I also have a YouTube channel. And to spread my message, since I'm a videographer, I go to high school sporting events. I film high school football, basketball, and volleyball games. I film school plays, graduations, and I put all this content online for the community so that they get something from my skills and my talents. But that's how I'm communicating with people and doing appearances like this. So.
All right, thank you all for attending.
All right, thank you for coming out.
So, pretty much we all